Mario!
Winter. It's cold, harsh, and unforgiving, but also quite beautiful from a distance. Now that I'm an adult, I depressingly can only think about the condition of the roads, which makes the spirit of my childhood quite disappointed. Remember playing outside in the front yard without a care in the world? Yeah, I could do that now, but the neighbors would probably call in about a grown man gleefully skipping through snow piles. Now it's all adult stuff. You've got to go through the hassle of getting bundled up, your car tires need changing, the excess exhaust in your small town has accumulated to become a sentient overlord, the minor annoyances of life that keep us locked inside until we're forced to get up and go to work. In the meantime, for those that aren't up for extreme sports or getting around to shoveling that driveway, we must spend some quality time with loved ones to buck up for the holidays. Or you could play video games alone, that works too. As a privileged white US citizen, I've always celebrated Christmas. You know, leave Santa Yoshi's cookie and Lon milk to thank him for the presents. Those pretty gift-wrapped boxes under the tree that hopefully contain an NES classic. Spoiler, they don't because Mommy couldn't get it in time.
Sorry.
It's a nostalgic time of year for gamers all over the world, because that was one of 2 shots for getting the newest console iteration, the other being your birthday, of course. If you're lucky, you may have found that Wii under the Christmas tree, and everyone could play bowling because even Grandma loves it. Moving on from Grandma though, besides family there's also a romantic aspect with the lights, mistletoe, and upcoming New Year for relationship kindling. This year I wanted to focus on that love in the air and keep the lively, nostalgic focus that Christmas has always been about for me. So I settled on Mario and Zelda, the 2 franchises that have made my wanted list every year. But Mario and Zelda, love. Will I be blabbing on about my passion for both series, or my crushes on both Malon and Vivian? Nah, let's do something different. I do that enough as it is, so how about focusing on the love lives of the titular characters themselves? And I'm not necessarily talking about their respective princesses yet. In both of these long-running franchises with main series games and spin-offs galore, there's plenty of other potential love interests hinted at or joked about in both kingdoms' lore. If we consider this a competition between heroes, just who is the manlier man? Who's more attractive to these virtual ladies? The answer may seem obvious given this glorious link to our world, but don't discount this plumber yet, as he's surprisingly quite a hunk himself. I will be crowning the king of romantic interest by judging 2 separate categories. The first is how many characters have developed feelings for these heroes over the years and how serious that interest is. And the second, the furthest canon the heroes' relationships with their princesses have gone. Without further ado, let's begin by delving into Mario's world and investigating all romantic encounters Mr. Jumpman has seen himself in that don't include Peach. Pauline was the girl from the plumber's most iconic debut, Donkey Kong, and the first girl Mario needed to rescue. She was replaced by Peach shortly after, but has made a number of appearances again in any re-release of the arcade game, as well as the Mario vs. Donkey Kong series games. The implications are always very light, with only a heart appearing between them in all iterations, and she's considered his friend now, but it's still worth mentioning. And I should also say that Pauline was Mario's love interest in the live-action movie, but take that as you will. Daisy. For some reason, when another princess was in need of rescuing in the faraway Sarasa land, the heart made a return when Mario saved the day. This could imply a one-way attraction, but I doubt that when considering the credits roll and the fact that we've seen this before. Mario, you're all over the place with these women. There's no excuse this time, as Peach is clearly established to be your bae at this point. Besides a pairing in Mario Party 4, Daisy is disregarded as a love interest for Mario nowadays, with Luigi clearly taking that spot. It's interesting to see Nintendo playing around with other female suitors though. Goombella. Alright, now we're getting somewhere. The Thousand Year Door is the second entry of the Paper Mario series, and is by far the Mario game that features romantic pursuing the most. Often it's a minor factor played for comedy, but there's a few exceptions and his first party member is shown to be one of them. As story-driven and text-based as this game is, and seeing how Goombella is a straight female lead, I can certainly see developing feelings after a long adventure. There's quite a few instances of her crush on Mario surfacing, so I'll uncover them all here. The first is a kiss on the cheek when first joining your party. The second is when the underground hoodlums encountered early on ask why she's with a mustached guy. The third being her claiming Mario is her boyfriend to get out of another relationship, though nothing more comes of this and it genuinely feels like just an excuse. 4, she becomes jealous whenever a certain character flirts with Mario, even going as far as to call her floozy. And 5, at the end of the game she wants to express something to Mario but decides to keep it a secret. Vivian. Vivian is another party member hailing from Twilight Town. She's the sister of the abusive beldam that leads the Shadow Sirens and expresses feelings for Mario a couple of times. Like Goombella, she kisses Mario to thank him, and almost tells Mario about her crush on him at the end, but decides not to since she knows he has Princess Peach. The difference here is that Vivian was very clearly going to say she's fallen in love with him. Surprisingly cute considering their time venturing together in Chapter 4. Miss Mouse. Miss Mouse is a flirt. She's most likely an homage to Catwoman with her petty thieving, masked persona, and romantic teasing of the leading role, so it makes sense to note her since Bruce and Selena are commonly paired together. Miss Mouse seductively engages with Mario, that's so odd to say, she's a mouse, in every encounter, kissing him with each scripted opportunity, and as many times as the player desires with her last learned move. Unlike the Star Spirit from the last game that was also able to give smooches for health recovery, this rat woman definitely has a thing for the capped crusader. Others. Madame Fleury kisses Mario and comments about his handsomeness, and Vivian's eldest sister even comments on how good looking he is. There's nothing more here, but worth noting as Mario is seen as an attractive fella all throughout Rogueport. In other Paper Mario games that aren't this one, there's few instances where attraction is implied with the ever so prominent kissing, but it really never goes beyond that sentiment. The bachelorettes for Link. Moving on to the world of Hyrule. Ocarina of Time is Link's love equivalent to Mario's Thousand Year Door. Like every female in that game, seemingly every girl in this one wants the Hero of Time for their own. Saria is the first exemplifier of this, being a childhood friend of Link and showing immense admiration for the boy throughout the 7-year quest. There's never any real detailing of her feelings though. The only dialogue suggesting that possibility is from Mido after acquiring the Forest Medallion. The young troublemaker tells Link that Saria really liked him. Malon is subtly implied to have a crush on Link. Support for this ship isn't plentiful though, with only a Gossip Stone reading of Malon's dream for a knight in shining armor, and the father jokingly asking Link to marry his daughter. Princess Ruto, though, professes mutual feelings at the time for Link when he mistakenly takes the Zora's Sapphire as a declaration of engagement. This is the first I've heard of actual marriage between the two series, and even after childhood infatuation, Ruto is still very serious about Link being her husband after the 7-year gap. Though, perhaps to Link's relief, she understands that it can't be, as Link's duty is to Hyrule. The only other mention of the hero being wed is in Oracle of Ages, in which a tree proposes to be Link's bride when she comes of age. Yes, a tree. An adorable tree, but a plant nonetheless. Perhaps the sole positive is that they're both able to get wood. Other. Navi. I find it particularly interesting that the developers commented specifically on this, where there's not many in-game hints, but apparently Navi had a crush on Link, and this was made from a comment when asked about Link and Zelda's developing romantic interest. So take that as you will, but Link can date a fairy. The only other time that this is made relevant is in the cartoon, which again, take that as you will, it's in the same canon I feel as the official Mario movie, but in that there's a character named Sprite, and she also had a thing for Link.
I like you just the way you are, especially at the moment.
Again, it's not in the main series canon, I just wanted to put it out there. As a rare moment for Nintendo in these situations, Link actually reciprocates feelings for ranch worker Cremia when she gives the boy a hug for helping fend off bandits for a milk delivery in Majora's Mask. After insight about a warm and fuzzy feeling the hero possesses, young Link contemplates getting used to this while nestled in her bosom. Likewise, and more seriously, Din from Oracle of Seasons is said to be attracted to Link by a troop member, and hesitates to say something, before continuing to dance. In Twilight Princess, one could ship the Goat Hoarder with Leah from a few select moments as fodder, though it's never evolved more than some dialogue hints and a reuniting scene. Also, although played for comedy, this is again worth mentioning as, like Mario, Link is made out to be a strapping young lad in his Ocarina adventure too. This is evidenced by a risque line of dialogue involving Nabooru, the Sage of Light, upon her seeing him as a grown man. Midna. Going back to the topic of Twilight Princess for a bit, Link and Midna seem to be a popular ship amongst the fans for good reason. In addition to yet another hesitant confession, the two share an unbreakable bond forged throughout the quest. During this time, we see quite a lot of romantic suggestion, from emotional smiles to gestures that include leaving Zelda behind, bait enough to attract this unlikely but admirable pairing. Peatrice. More so than any of the other entries here, Peatrice from Skyward Sword blatantly and outright asks Link if he's in love with her after frequent encounters. The father even offers up the suggestion of a date, and when she does ask, saying no will cause her to maintain a disappointed yet understanding composure, revealing her interest, while yes will lead to her continuing to swoon over the hero on his quest, yielding gratitude crystals and a line from Fee suggesting he not talk about his relationship with Zelda. Peatrice is clearly one of the more realistic options for the goddess's chosen hero if he doesn't go with Zelda. And finally we have Marin. Marin is another realistic female friend to Link in his awakening. Among other moments, a cliched interruption by her father occurs during an almost confession, hindering her reveal and prohibiting further development. You know, while I mention it, her dad is essentially the Mario of the Zelda universe with his getup, so is this the Mushroom Muncher's attempt at winning the competition by breaking apart the two lovebirds? I'll take that as a yes, and I appreciate the move, but I'm still going to have to give this round to Link. The Hyrulean Knight simply has more realistic appeal than Mario. While Mario does have arguably more variety in his options besides the fairy and tree if you're into that, Link inarguably has more humanoid choices other than the princess that could seriously develop. And for that reason this round goes to the green side. Just not that green. Get out of here, Luigi, get! Alright, now that we've got that out of the way, let's explore how far Mario's relationship with Peach develops. Well, the plumber hardly falls short on kisses, but he shouldn't desire more than that, as it's as far as the games are willing to go. No! Come on, Peach, the man can only eat so much cake. With that though, besides the amount of implied pairing at the end of plenty Mario games, it's usually left at that, an endgame reward. Exceptions include plenty of support for the pair in Paper Mario, this description in the official Yoshi's on the DS manual, her being his special one in Mario Galaxy, and a revelation that the princess has turned down Wario in favor of the man in red for a graduation ball, among other confirmations. Besides the player being told about their feelings though, there's hardly ever any emotional bonding between the two, so it makes the modern day kidnapping feel like an overused joke. It's not that we really need to see any intimacy between them. I mean, I am always down for never mind, but I'm always up for her having a larger role than the worn-out damsel in distress. Any game that makes an attempt to have her on supporting cast or makes reason for the princess to stay around longer gains extra points in my book. With this said, there are some moments with emotional bonding from select games worth mentioning though. After around the Super Nintendo era, we do get more substance to their bond, aside from the show, which For a couple of examples, Super Mario Sunshine shows pictures of them on vacation during the credits, and reflective moments between them are much more common as she gets more screen time. Over the years, many people forget these little moments that really add up and make for a genuine, believable relationship that's more than a forced gimmick Nintendo needs to uphold. Their exchanges mean something, and it's refreshing to see this side rather than the theories of her willingly being kidnapped for some strange Bowser love triangle fetish. As far as Link is concerned, there are more instances of an emotional pairing to make up for the lack of a physical one. Quite the opposite of Mario's ordeal. Doesn't that sound weird to say? The only romantic contact the two make is an implied kiss shared under the closing curtain of Adventure of Link, with another moment only popping up 14 years later in the form of a less than subtle smooch when finishing the Oracle series games. Link, you made your tree bride cry. Twilight Princess has one intimate moment and Phantom Hourglass has an attempt, but the last game to feature physical connection comes as a result of the pair's immense bonding in Spirit Tracks. Here the two share an entire adventure together, somewhat similarly to only Super Paper Mario with the opposing franchise, with closeness clearly showing from cute interactions that lead to a blushing Link moment and hand-holding. Other than that though, the rest of the series only ever gives hints through their interactions rather than making interest obvious. Both Ocarina of Time's ending and her Majora's Mask flashback appearance could be seen as romantic, but it's very subtle and doesn't progress. Wind Waker features one line from Beetle I quite like, making Link's affection clear, with Ganondorf following suit in stating that he's taken Link's precious Zelda. Even with all of this mentioned, I'd argue that Skyward Sword has by far the largest romantic tension between these two characters, even though their relationship was never overtly stated to be that. I really wanted this to end with a kiss, but oh well. The closest we got to outright confirmation was Nintendo's creating a romance trailer for the 3DS's eShop. Besides that though, it was very obvious that the two were more than simply friends, with too many heartwarming moments to list here. My favorites include her teasing towards the beginning, the unforgettable "I'm still your Zelda" line, and the symbolism of his choosing to live with her beneath the clouds at the end. Never before have I pushed for these two as hard as my time spent with Skyward Sword, and I can't imagine anyone unconvinced for the chemistry they share. So who wins this round? Well, I'm actually going to have to give it to Mario this time. While Link and Zelda are certainly my preferred pairing, and though there's more focused time given to them in narrative when Aomo wants, it's still boiled down to something we, as fans, want to see, rather than what's actually there. Mario and Peach have had numerous confirmation and are shown to be a match for each other, but that's simply not the case for Link and Zelda all the time, especially if one considers the fact that these are different incarnations of the Triforce holders. One could argue that there's more chemistry with them in Skyward Sword than any interpretation of Mario and Peach, and while I agree with that, I don't want to dismiss the fact that there are moments like this throughout the plumber's history, and a lot of it can be what we don't see. The series simply doesn't work to be as cinematic as Zelda, so we have to do our best to combine what we've seen with what we're told and trust that the pair works as an intimate couple. Perhaps this will change and the developers will expand upon Skyward Sword's pairing even further, but for now Link and Zelda is mostly something to be wanted rather than an always established pair. What's this, a tie? Who would have ever guessed that this heated discussion would end without proper conclusion? I had a feeling this would be the result, and I actually wanted it this way to open discussion with you all, the viewers. Who deserves to win the title of Best Bachelor? Do you disagree with my category winners? Find it out in the comments, and I'll select a final victor based on popularity or ability to sway my decision. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope that this was entertaining. I've been thinking about doing a video like this for a while, especially after playing Color Splash and going back to some of the older Paper Mario games and realizing just how many female characters are into Mario. I just think that's super funny. We'll have to see who wins this. I'm curious to see what you guys think, so thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.